Hello again, and this time you're very welcome to Lahinch in County Clare. And we're going to be looking at a mysterious and completely unexplained standing stone on the beach. There's a view of Dough Castle beside the golf course. There's the view of Liscannor when you get to the end of the beach. Then you make a right-hand turn and you can walk up to what the locals call the New Bridge, which was built in 1850. Now, once you've made that right-hand turn at the end of the beach, you're following the river up towards the bridge. On the left-hand side is the standing stone. It's right in the middle of the river. It's rarely on dry land. This is tidal and almost always underwater. It's about 3 meters high, and there's probably 2 or 3 more meters under the ground because the sand up here shifts quite a bit. There's water currents, obviously, and it has never moved. There are views of it from a few different angles, and there's its position in the river as we look at the satellite image. Now, as usual, we're going to look at why is it located exactly where it's located. Why was it stuck in the riverbed right here? And to begin to answer that, we need to go into Limerick. Limerick City and the People's Park. In the park we have 3 important things. We have the Richard Russell Fountain, which is octagonal. We have the bandstand here, which is octagonal, and we have the Rice Monument, which sits on an octagonal base. If we go to the bandstand, draw a line along the footpath to the Richard Russell Fountain, then go back to the middle of that line, take a line away at 90 degrees precisely along the other footpath through the centre of the octagonal base of the Rice Monument, and we'll extend that line all the way across County Clare. That line hits O'Brien's Tower at the Cliffs of Moher. Now, you won't be surprised at this stage watching these videos that our line goes over the top of the standing stone in the river. And something else that might or might not be significant is that approximately halfway along near Ballybeg Lake, that line goes through the centre of a ring fort there in the middle of a field. It may also be significant that this ring fort is precisely halfway between the Rice Monument and where our line crosses a little re-engineered river north of Liscannor village. But we'll leave that detail for another day. Going back to the overhead of the river estuary, we can see a bunch of other alignments there. So let's have a look at the next one. Just 2.5 kilometres to the west is Liscannor village. Here's the main street, and there's a pub and restaurant that many of you will be familiar with. They're part of a terrace of 9 buildings on the north side of Main Street there, and the terrace is not parallel to the road. The entire terrace, however, is perfectly aligned with our standing stone, as is this old cottage and outbuilding complex a short distance away, just across the street. Interestingly, there is no street or building in Ennistimon or Lahinch which aligns with this standing stone. It's almost as if they were careful to avoid it. Local things that do align, however, are these 3 specific stone walls immediately north of the Falls Hotel in Ennistimon. All 3 of them point straight at the standing stone, and there's this very interesting little half-acre field beside the river, just 2.5 kilometres upstream, and one side of it aligns with our standing stone. Another side points straight at the old cathedral in Kilfenora, 8 or so kilometres away, and another side of it points us to Doon Tower, just beside the river at Doolin. There's an overview of that little field from slightly higher. If we go across Liscannor Bay to a little boutique restaurant hotel called Moy House, it has an oldie-worldy 4-storey tower. And looking from overhead again, if we take a line, that purple line, away from there, away to a ring fort just north of Doolin, that line goes over the top of our standing stone. Now for the next alignment, we go to Loop Head Lighthouse. And if we take a line, that red line there, from the lighthouse to a little marker wall in Cahernochton, that line goes over the top of our standing stone. Now, what's a marker wall, you might ask? They are odd little bits of walls. They can be L-shaped, they can be T-shaped, they can be Y-shaped. And they're usually in the middle of fields. There must be 50 of them around the Burren and the rest of County Clare. And a bit like the Nazca lines in Peru, they appear to only make sense when viewed from the air. So when you look at them from the air, the axis of each of the segments of wall all align with something else significant. And the center point where the segments of wall meet is a reference point for a variety of other sites, sometimes nearby, sometimes far away. There's one just outside of Lahinch in Craig. There's one near Kilfenora. There's one in Kilmaley. That's what it looks like from over the wall. And there's one in Kilshanny that points us in one direction to Smithstown Castle and the other direction to Balnalacken Castle. So coming back to the little wall that receives the line from Loop Head, it comes over our standing stone, then that little wall points us in one direction to Caherdunerish Ring Fort to the northwest and in the other direction to Clonfert Cathedral. Now, that's only one of these little walls around the burn that point to Clonfert. There's one on Turlock Hill, which points to Clonfert in one direction. The next alignment we're going to look at our Lahinch standing stone also begins at one of these walls, just west of the GAA pitch at Moher. One segment of that wall points to Ratu Round Tower across the river in Kerry, and the other part of the L shape points us to a similar little wall at Craig, the other side of Lahinch. But if we take a line from the centre point of that L shape across to St. Attractus Church over near Carron, that line goes over the top of our standing stone in Lahinch and arrives at the church, meeting the centre point of the half-octagon extension at the end, probably directly overhead where the altar is underneath. But I haven't been in that church. There's an overhead with a marker wall to the west, the standing stone in the middle, and the church away to the east. And the yellow line there which goes over the top of our standing stone. Now, to look very briefly at just two more of the alignments, there is a partial stone circle just to the north of Liscannor village. The orange line there goes over the top of our standing stone and arrives at the top of a mound just outside of Ennistimon. Whatever was on that mound has been removed, but the earthworks are still quite visible. And 7 or so kilometres to the north, there is a place called Tunwan Fort, which is in the middle of what's now forestry. I haven't been there, but Google knows it's there. And if we take a line from there, over the top of our standing stone, we arrive at another one of these little marker walls, not far from Moy House on the south side of Liscannor Bay. So we're left with the question of what was the function of this standing stone? It's out in the middle of the riverbed, cannot be dismissed as a scratching post for cattle. So we're left with the possibility that there might have been some energies active between all these places, and the standing stone was some sort of conductive mechanism that enabled all that to happen. It's standing in the riverbed, the estuary there is tidal, and the water is salty, and salt water is a very efficient conductor, so the stone would have been a very effective grounding point for whatever energies might have been at play. Unfortunately, all the surrounding infrastructure has been removed. There's only bits of walls left and bits of mounds. It's almost as if somebody doesn't want us to know what it was all about. Do share this video link with anybody you think might have an inquiring mind like yourself, and until next time, thank you for watching.